highly ranked team beat a Power of 5 team, and not just like, the Illinois of the world of the Big Ten or something like that, do what they did, knock off Notre Dame, but then run the table, which obviously they didn't. And that's already kind of been fumbled there. So that's, I think, the only way they do it. So they got to ask themselves, can they make it by playing through the MAC? I mean, yeah, you probably have a better option going through the Mountain West. But if I'm them, I would say probably just even from a monetary standpoint, from the legacy standpoint and everything, it's probably better to be the big fish in the small pond and stay in the MAC than it is to try to go out there and search and trying to find another conference. So then, too, is they're just going to bail them, Mountain West out. Why would you want to do that? They've got their own problems.
Cofield and Company with Matt Fontana on with us here. We're going to get to the Browns in a couple of minutes. Alex White is here as well. Go ahead, Alex.
Well, while we're talking about college football, Matt, it should be a sin because we have not brought this game up in 2 hours, and it is Georgia-Alabama. I'm curious your thoughts which way you're leading here. Kalen DeBoer really gets his first chance as Alabama's head coach and his first test here with the Georgia Bulldogs coming in.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I caught a quote from Kirby Smart of ESPN. They do a tailgate series. Jonathan Zaslow handles that, and I've worked with Zaz on ESPN a lot. And he talked to Kirby, and he said, listen, we've faced Jalen Milroe before. We've played in that stadium before. We've played against most of their starters before. The one thing we have not done is face Kalen DeBoer and face this coaching staff. So I'm leaning Georgia in the game. Again, I think it's at this point of the season, you haven't heard too much about some of the big schools, Ohio State, even Georgia, to a point Alabama, because they haven't had huge marquee games. Texas has already had one. We know Notre Dame and all those other schools. So I think they're just kind of figuring things out. But when push comes to shove, I'm going to take Carson back over Jalen Milroe. I don't know about that for NFL perspective, or if I was in the draft, I might be doing a little bit different. For this game tomorrow, though, I'm going to lean Carson back. So for that reason, I would take Georgia. I know it's going to really be hard on the road, but it's also looking at it that both of these teams are set up very well to make the playoff. They're both probably going to be there. We could totally see a rematch again. So I think, again, they want to win this. It is a rivalry game, certainly very much so, but just I think it's taken a little sting out of it, knowing that in most other years, the loser of this probably would make it, and that's pretty much not going to be the case tomorrow.
Matt, give us the vibe around the Browns' start to the season.
It's been so hard because everything on this season was finally getting to an answer on Deshaun Watson, and we can't because, number one, he's just been playing bad. Now his offensive line is completely decimated. Nobody in the NFL has been hit more times than him. He's been hit 57 times through 3 games. The second closest quarterback is at 29 through 3 games. So he's been hit a lot. He's been sacked a lot. And on top of it, yeah, he's not playing well. I want the Browns to win, certainly, but another part of that, and probably the most important thing outside of winning, is getting an answer if Deshaun Watson is going to be the franchise quarterback of the future, and that was paramount to find out. Now you have all these other variables in there, other people not playing well, he's not playing well. We're getting to a point where we're breaking down individual plays. As this whole week, it's been one play. There's one play on a cycle on social media where there was a wide open tight end in the flat that Watson clutched, didn't throw, took a sack, and that ended up leading. The Browns were down in the game, and it was a 3rd or 4th down conversion that he didn't pick up. And everybody's screaming, why didn't you throw to that guy? We had Watson coming out telling people they don't know what the play call was or they don't know how to watch film. You have Amari Cooper getting frustrated with the media yesterday. So it's been a tumultuous start. It really has. And, thank goodness they got the one win against the Jags. Maybe that's not as good of a win as we thought it was at a point, but it's been hard. And I think the hardest thing is at least me personally, I have not taken any meaning forward towards getting the answer of if Deshaun Watson is going to turn it around or not.
Talking about the offense a lot, and we know missing 2 offensive tacklers, and now tight end David Njoku is out. I want to talk about the defensive side, though, and what has gone wrong, because last year this was an elite defense, especially at home, and we just haven't seen that this year.
No, Myles Garrett tampered with 2 different feet injuries at this point, and on top of Achilles and a thigh. He's still been pretty impactful, but they're missing a starting safety. Juan Thornhill is on IR. They lost a couple D tackles. The biggest story probably of the preseason was Michael Hall, their 2nd-round draft pick. He's been placed on the commissioner's exempt list after there was a domestic violence situation. He was not charged in court, but he's still, or at least pleaded no contest to it. They've moved on in court, but he's still on the commissioner's exempt list, so he's not with the team. So it's a lot of the same bodies, but you go back to Jim Schwartz, who was the defense coordinator a year ago, and he loves baseball analogies. So I apologize, but I got to use his baseball analogies where he said, last year, all we threw was fastball. We just did simple things. We just went straight forward, and that's what we did. And it led to them being the best defense in the NFL. He said this year they're going to start mixing in curveballs and changeups and maybe starting to get to second and third level type things to try to confuse offenses, and didn't work against Danny Dimes. It didn't really work against Dak Prescott in week one. The players are still there. There are a couple guys that are off to really slow starts, but the players are still there. I'll lean on that. I'll lean on Jim Schwartz just to get some things figured out. But yeah, if the offense is going to continue to struggle as bad as they are, they're going to need this defense to play as well as they did last year if they have any hope of making the playoffs.
Let's go a little deep divey on the other side. I just want to know what your opinion is of the Raiders offense, which was been a little up and down, and certainly right now they can't run the ball.
No, they can't run, and I really thought Zamir White was going to have a good year. You know, I was a big Josh Jacobs fan. I understand moving on from that. So I expected a lot out of Zamir White, but with the offensive line, I think as tough as it's been with now Thayer Munford's going to be out this weekend, which will be tough for them. As far as the offense goes, not having Devontae Adams on Sunday is a huge help, obviously, for the Browns. The Browns have three what should be top-level corners, but the top one is Denzel Ward. He's elite, and now he can be focused on Jacoby Myers if needed. Trey Turner's got a lot of speed. The one guy I think we're a little worried about here in Cleveland, and my producer is a big fan of Brock Bowers, and he kept telling me all day today, he goes, Brock Bowers, got to watch out for Brock Bowers. You got to watch out for Brock Bowers. So now that the offense is kind of taking a step back, I think that's the one to watch. I think for Browns fans, we certainly look at Gardner Minshew, who almost beat the Browns, pretty much had the Browns beat and on the ropes last year when he was in Indianapolis, almost single-handedly running in a couple of touchdowns. But some fluky things happened in that game. The Browns ended up getting a win. But, yeah, I would say going into that game, guys, for the Browns, I see the advantage, for our defense versus their offense, and especially without Devontae Adams. And I just really am going to wonder how much Myles Garrett, because I think it's going to be an interesting matchup with Colton Miller over there on the left side between him and Myles Garrett, but Myles is banged up. So, yeah, I do think this might be a low-scoring game just because there's going to be big pieces missing with Devontae Adams being out, not being able to run the football, plus the Browns' defense is better. And I could see the Raiders trying to stymie the Browns a little bit just because they've struggled on offense. So I kind of like a little bit of a low-scoring game maybe on Sunday.
What was the story this week? We need to expound on this one. Amari Cooper making some comments about the media?
Yeah, so it started yesterday. Again, kind of all going back to the same thing. There was the play, and, I'm sure you guys see it. There's a lot of people that break film down on Twitter, right? So there was a play that Jordan Akins, backup tight end, was wide open in the flat, and Watson didn't throw him to him. So then that got blown up all week about Watson didn't see him, or he did, but then he didn't throw it, and just basically how messed up Deshaun Watson is in playing. So the question was brought up to Amari Cooper about just the offensive struggles in Deshaun Watson. And Amari is the ultimate pros pro. He is a very kind of quiet guy, and he wasn't being demonstrative in any way, but he was kind of looking at the media and saying, well, do people get on you when you ask bad questions? Or maybe you shouldn't come in front of the camera and ask questions because we're all in the, out there and people scrutinize us. Maybe they should scrutinize you guys just as much. And he wasn't doing it, I think, so much to kind of be a jerk. I think taking pressure off. But it was interesting to hear that from a guy like Amari Cooper, because I never really expected that from him. But then we realized he had a bit of a contentious offseason where he held out of early offseason work mini camp because he wanted a new contract. And the best that he got was a restructured 1-year deal, added some money to it. But Amari Cooper is over 30 as a wide receiver, and he does not have a contract for next year. So maybe that's starting to frustrate him, on top of the fact that Deshaun Watson was not playing well. Now, Cooper had his best game of the season on Sunday against the Giants. But, that was an interesting one that kind of made me perk up about Amari Cooper. And again, I don't think he was taking a shot. It's not like he was yelling at anybody. But I think for Amari Cooper, that's about as frustrated as I think I've ever heard him here in Cleveland.
We're getting ready for Browns and Raiders coming up on Sunday over at the Owl. Cleveland's in town. Matt Fontana is breaking things down. Matt Fontana 83 up on Twitter. Well, I just want to follow up. When you scan the media landscape in Cleveland, do you think there are a few people who are anti-Browns?
No, and it's funny I talk about it because there's the vast majority of people. We're not like even Vegas, or we're not even like New York, where the vast majority of people that are out there, and I covered the Browns on a pretty full-time basis for about 6 seasons. So I know a lot of people out there. We're all Clevelanders, so at the end of the day, we all started out as Browns fans. And I think things shift when you get into the media and you have to kind of put a little bit of a different hat on. But we all want to see the Browns win because we're all starting out as Clevelanders, but I'll always talk about this too. And I'm sure you guys feel the same way. People are going to want to listen more. They want to read more. They want to have more interest when the team wins. We've all been through losing streaks and nobody wants to really turn the radio on or turn YouTube on to watch a show about the Browns when they lose. One of the biggest shows that I've done at my time at Big Play was following the win over Jacksonville. Actually, it was the biggest show that we had done. So that tells you, in my opinion, all people need to know about it is that we all want the Browns to win. So, yeah, it can be hard because the media's got to report sometimes negative things and they take it out of the media when in reality, sometimes you got to look at the team and go, well, they shouldn't give the media negative things to report on. Which has basically been the story here for 20 years. But no, I really, again, I don't think Amari was out to get anybody or make anybody look bad. I just think that, he's frustrated like a lot of people on that offense. And, in a way also, I think was trying to defend Deshaun Watson a little bit.
Matt, all offseason, everybody talks about how good the AFC North is, how competitive they are. And now we have the Bengals who are 0-3, the Browns and the Ravens 1-2. Where are you right now with this division?
I think it's really, you still expect the Bengals to eventually kind of turn it around. But the problem is, at worst, or at best, I should say, they have dug them. I know they're 0-3, but they've dug themselves a 2-game hole, right? A 2-game hole to get back into the division, to get back into the wild card. The only thing that really helps Cincinnati is their schedule. Now, Baltimore's a little bit different. Baltimore, and really the AFC North in general, all 4 teams had a very high strength of schedule coming into the season, mostly because all 4 of the teams were relatively decent last year and just how the schedule worked out. But Baltimore and the Browns have the 2 hardest of any of the teams in the AFC North. So for the Browns, who I picked as a wild card team, I think it's off to obviously a tough one with that Giants loss, but at least it's out of division. For the Ravens to lose to the Raiders like they did, which is a tiebreaker scenario, potentially wild card, all that kind of stuff, I think that puts them really in a hole. Cincinnati's bailout is their schedule is not nearly as tough, so I picked them to win the division before the season. I don't feel so good about it just because that defense is horrendous and they can't stop anybody right now on that defensive side of it. I really thought this might be a down year for Baltimore. I still thought they were going to make – well, actually, you want to know what? I did pick them to miss the playoffs this year just because I just didn't know if they got enough help with Lamar Jackson, and I was not a big believer in the Derrick Henry signing there. I think eventually Pittsburgh's warts will get shown, just from the quarterback play, and they're going to need Justin Fields to throw more. I did some stat on my show today about that Justin Fields being 3-0, he's had the least amount of pass attempts, or the Steelers have had the least amount of pass attempts for a team to start 3-0 in like the past 8 years or 10 years or something like that. So I don't think it's real sustainable with Fields. So I guess if I was putting my money down, I would say I think Cincinnati will get back into it, maybe even still win the division. I think the Steelers eventually will fade. I'm not really buying the Ravens, and I think the Browns are kind of somewhere in the middle.
Last couple for Matt Fontana. In recent years, how have the Browns fans traveled? Because generally, Allegiant does get invaded by a lot of the enemy fans.
There will be a lot there. One of my very good friends is already there with his wife. They left yesterday. I know that there were some outlets in town that chartered planes, and there was a company actually that they, with the Browns fans, and they said, hey, one price, you get the ticket, we'll do a tailgate, you get the flights, the hotels. So again, like you said, I'm sure you're used to a lot of fans coming in, but there's going to be thousands. There's going to be a lot of Browns fans out there. And I also think, for the Browns nation, not even just coming out of Cleveland, there's a lot of Browns fans out on the West Coast as well. So I'm sure that there's going to be quite a few coming in from California and things like that. So, yeah, I expect there to be a pretty heavy Browns contingent there for you guys on Sunday.
Yeah, we already have about 4 or 5 Browns bars here, so I'm sure all those locals are going to be out there cheering for the Browns. So, but Vegas is used to it. And then actually, when they built the stadium here, it was kind of the expectation, and that's how they pitched spending the money on it. Like, oh, you're going to bring all these people to town, so it's a good thing. It's not great for Raiders fans. It drives them freaking nuts, but oh well. Once again, before we get you out of here, tell people where they can find your show.
Yeah, no, and you can follow me on Twitter at MattFontana83. I retweet the stream for our show every single morning. You can follow the show individually if you want at Matt Fontana Show. Download the Big Play app or check us out and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's at Matt Fontana Show.
Matt, we appreciate it. Thanks, man.
No problem, guys. Appreciate it.
There he is, Cleveland insider Matt Fontana. Alex is here. It's Cofield. About 7 minutes in, Washington, Rutgers, scoreless. Check that. Miami rolling up some yardage on the ground, 133 on the ground so far, but 14-7 lead for the Canes. And that one's got 3 minutes left in the first quarter. We're going to go out actually, I think he's here now. I was going to say we're going to go out to Fresno next and talk to Cam Worrell, who's part of the broadcast team on radio for the Bulldogs. I have no idea what the hell is going to happen in this game between the Browns and the Raiders. As a local talk show host, that should not be my take. I don't know because there's so many injured players. I don't know that Gardner Minshew can go back to basically what has been 1.5 strong quarters. That Ravens game. And then the other thing that we got to at the end, that was a good question about the division. I don't think the Steelers are making the playoffs, even though they're 3-0.
You don't?
I didn't pick the Ravens to make the playoffs. I think they're making it. I picked the Browns to win the division. Now I don't trust anything with Deshaun Watson. And I had the Bengals going to the Super Bowl. So I had no idea coming in. And I'm just throwing stuff against the wall. I'm like, I think this was the case now after 3 games. What did you think was going to happen in the division? Who was going to win?
The Ravens. I still had faith in the Ravens.
They're 1-2, and I'm like, I kind of like them.
I like Pittsburgh too, though.
Really?
They are in my top 10 now. Their defense is really good. I mean, they definitely need to get some things figured out. I think they have, 1 or 2 passing touchdowns or in their 3 wins.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Can I tell you that I'd be more bullish on the Steelers if I knew that Russell Wilson is coming back soon, which no one in the country will say that because everyone's like, Russell Wilson sucks. I like Justin Fields. He still needs time to develop. I actually think they can be a legitimate team with a balanced offense and a guy you can really trust to throw in Russell Wilson, but we'll see when he's back.
I really want to see Russell Wilson's second try at a new place, right? It did not work out in Denver, clearly, but I don't think he is completely done. So I did want to see that. And with Tomlin, so I don't blame you for that at all.
This is a great place to hang out on a Friday night. I know a little later tonight, I'm going to be hanging out with our friends over at Ellis Island. I want to grab some of their Oktoberfest food. I think I'm going to go for the cheddar brats with sauerkraut and potato salad, the schnitzel with broccolini and mashed potatoes. No, it was a sausage platter, 3 specialty sausage with a bunch of other good stuff. It's literally, the list is crazy. Over there, they're doing a Friday night tailgate. So when you go to the Raiders games, you see David Perico up on that big stage with the Raiders house band. They're actually going to play Friday night starting at 10 o'clock at the front yard at Ellis Island. So I would go check that out. That's a big venue, but when you put a band in there, it's actually kind of a small venue. So I'm sure the sound's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good show. That starts up at 10 o'clock over in the front yard at Ellis Island.
Traffic is brought to you by Meineke, your one-stop shop for total car care. Trust your keys with Meineke, doing car care right.
Accident being reported Summerlin Parkway eastbound at Buffalo. Also Jones Boulevard northbound. That's at the 215 Beltway. Also, Las Vegas Boulevard at Pecos, Harmon at Pecos, and Main Street at Washington.
Traffic is brought to you by Meineke, your one-stop shop for total car care. Trust your keys with Meineke, doing car care right.
Meineke might be a big name, but doesn't come with a big cost. In fact, right now, you can get an oil change starting at only $39.95. That's just $39.95. Visit Meineke.com for the independently owned and operated Meineke near you. Trust your key with Meineke, doing car care right.
You know, a lot of lawyers who advertise here don't even live here. If they say Nevada, they're not from around here. If they think our capital is Las Vegas, they're not from around here. I'm Richard Harris, and I am from Nevada. I grew up here. I went to school here. I raised my family here. No one knows Nevada like we do. If you've been injured, call me, Richard Harris, of the Richard Harris Law Firm, 444-4444, just in case.
The question I get all the time is, how much do your loans really cost? I mean, are they super expensive?
First of all, if you need a loan for a week, just a few days, a month, or whatever, you only pay interest for the time you have the loan out.
Okay, I'm with you so far, but how much exactly?
Let's use a $1,000 loan as an example. The interest would cost you $5.50 a day. And if you need the loan for 10 days, the interest cost would be $55.
Just $5.50 per day on a $1,000 loan?
Yes, sir. No other fees at all. Just the interest for how long you keep out the loan.
That was Chuck, and DLC continues to be your community lender by offering free loans to all new customers. No fee to apply and a week of free interest. We have over 50 locations. Apply over the phone or online at don'tbebroke.com.
The interest is free. You are still required to repay the principal amount. Licensed by the Nevada Financial Institutions Division. Payment amounts based on biweekly pay frequency with annual percentage rate of 199.99%. For additional cost information, call 866-550-4352. Certain limitations may apply. Loans are subject to approval.
Hey, it's Cofield. I'm with my friend Jake from Desert Springs Pools. Desert Springs Pools can complete your new pool in as little as 10 weeks. And I hear you guys do pool renovations as well.
Well, Steve, the most common thing is we come in, chip out your old plaster or pebble, and resurface it. Pool decking around your existing pool. We can upgrade your pool equipment, add a heater if you like. We also offer fully automated new panels where you can control all of your pool equipment from a click of a button on your phone and much more. And it's a lot less than you think.
Desert Springs Pools renovations. Don't wait. Renovate.
Sign up today for a new William Hill Nevada mobile sports account, and you can earn a $50 bonus bet on top of your original $50 or more deposit and wager. The William Hill Nevada mobile sports app allows you to bet on the go from any iPhone, iPad, or Android device from anywhere in Nevada. Sign up today, and you will never miss another bet. With the largest wagering menu, the mobile sports app features live and play wagering on all major sports. For more information, official rules, and to see participating sign-up locations, visit williamhill.us. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I'm Justin Watkins with Battleborn Injury Lawyers, and I have to laugh when I hear all the attorneys out there falling all over themselves to tell you who's bigger, who's better, or who's richer. It's funny because the American Bar Association found the most common complaints of lawyers is neglect and lack of communication. It's about customer service. At Battleborn, we pride ourselves on how we treat our clients, and our clients seem to really appreciate it. Check out our Google reviews or call 766-1400 for a free consultation. At Battleborn, your battle is our fight.
Legion Stadium is the home to world-class events like the Raiders, the Rebels, Pro Soccer, and Superstar concerts. And your home for the pre- and post-game parties is the Tailgater Tavern. Less than a half mile from the stadium, the Tailgater features 24 beers on tap and killer happy hour specials and gaming promotions. Plus, the kitchen is cooking up everything from shareable bar bites to breakfast, flatbread pizzas, and monster-sized burgers. This is your sports viewing headquarters. The Tailgater Tavern at Russell and Valley View, your gateway to the stadium.
Finley Chevrolet, located at the 215 in South Rainbow, is Nevada's #1 Chevrolet volume dealership. Again, together, let's drive.
Finley Chevy is a place to buy. Home of the.
You see why thousands have made the switch to Finley Chevrolet, 215 in South Rainbow. Together, let's drive.
Findlay. Finley Chevy is a place to buy. Home of the.
The best golfers in the world return to Las Vegas for the Shriners Children's Open October 17th through the 20th. Food, drinks, and professional golf. Get your tickets at ShrinersChildrenOpen.com.
Raiders head coach Antonio Pierce on how they prepare young players to play while some of the regular starters are out.
We do a lot of things developmental throughout the practice to give guys opportunities. You know, our scout team is not a look team. We actually compete, and we try to mirror as best we can to what the defense or the offense wants us to give, but staying within our technique and scheme.
Now, back to Cofield and Company on ESPN
Las Vegas.
Last 30 minutes or so here at PI Vegas. Alex White's here, Cofield. You know, I've never asked you, Griffin, are you playing all the fight songs when we bring on these schools, these experts?
Absolutely. We got to build up the hype for these matchups.
I think we got to ban that.
You think so?
Well, especially for the disloyal 5 who are bailing. Up theirs.
But then you build up the hype for UNLV to go in there and handle them the way that they need to be handled.
Yeah, I guess. I don't have like haunting memories of being at Fresno during the football games and hearing that. Basketball, you can hear it real clearly. Fresno State basketball is an amazing thing because they were in a good-sized arena back in the Tark days. They built a new arena that holds like 15,000. I've never been to a game, and I guess maybe it could be UNLV. I don't think that's the case because it's the same with everyone. I've never been to a game there where there was more than 1,500 fans in that building. So maybe that's another reason they all believe that the Pac-12 is going to be the glory land. So I would say of all the schools of Fresno, they don't. I guess they're the lowest on the scale of driving me nuts. There's an arrogance about San Diego State and Boise, which I've never really understood by either. And I was saying yesterday, this conference chaos stuff and the splintering of the conference, the sort of arrogance coming from the schools that are leaving, I don't really get it. And now all of a sudden, UNLV is a real enemy, and now they're mad at UNLV for not going to the Pac-12 when they didn't want to be with them. That's why they went to the Pac-12.
Right.
It's so like fans turn into just weird, super over the top loyal beast about their program with this conference stuff. It's bizarro.
So you said there is some arrogance from the ones that are leaving?
I think two of them for sure. Yeah, I think two of them for sure. And I don't think it was Fresno. I like the city of Fresno. I like their I love the brand of football they play. I like Cam Worrell, who's with us, who played there. Cam, how you doing?
What's going on, fellas?
Well, we're kind of hashing through this crazy week of conference chaos.
Oh,
then we got to get to the Sluka stuff in a little bit, but it's just weird, man. I don't think a lot of people say this about Fresno. I like it. I like going on road trips there. Every time I go there, I discover new stuff. Like, I'm legitimately sad that this conference is splintering and you guys are going over to the Pac-12. I'm sure for you guys that, hey, that's where you wanted to be, so it's a good thing. But I think it's sad to see the conference split up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. This was a very quality conference on the West Coast with a lot of quality football programs. I mean, it's really hard to win in the Mountain West. You have to face a lot of different offenses, defenses, very complex schemes of really high quality coaching. For this to be broken up with, just kind of the trickle down effect. It started when the SEC expanded, and then SC and UCLA went to the Big Ten. Like, this is all trickled down from all of that, and it's really a sad and kind of disgusting state of college athletics right now. It's unfortunate that we're in this place because, Fresno State and UNLV, they should play every single year. This is a rivalry game. It's a big time game, and to think that, this is not going to be part of the schedule anymore, it's just bad.
Going back to when I was talking about different schools being kind of snooty, what does the Fresno State football fan base think of Boise?
We can't stand Boise State. We can't stand them. So it's actually a great rivalry. I love chopping it up with Boise State fans. I talk so much mess, weeks of games after we win. It's fantastic, and I love those kind of rivalry settings that we have. San Diego State, UNLV, Boise, like, these are all fun rivalries. And look, after the game's over, like, I feel like everybody's like, okay, we can hug it out, we can dap it up, everything's cool, it's just a game, and we can move on down the road. But it's been long running, and there's definitely no love lost the week of a game with Boise State fans and Fresno State fans for sure.
What do you think Fresno fans think about what's happened this week, where I think they were pitched a grand plan that the Pac-12 was going to be close to a Power 5 conference, going to be a across the country conference, go and steal. UTSA and Memphis and South Florida and others, Tulane. Is there a little nervousness right now about what this conference is going to be?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there was a lot of excitement. Obviously, just as a Fresno State fan, you never thought that Fresno State and the Pac-12 would be associated with one another. Like, you just never thought that that was a realistic possibility. So it was very exciting to hear when that came out that Fresno State was going to be a part of the Pac-12. But as things have developed, and I think like everybody else, we just kind of figured that UNLV. I was shocked that UNLV wasn't involved to begin with, and then you hear everything that comes out, reasons why, all that. So it was a little bit surprising, but then you heard Tulane and Memphis and maybe USF and UConn, Gonzaga, like all of these possibilities. Yeah, so you're excited about what could happen. UNLV could still come, and now that none of those things have happened, yeah, I think there's a lot of nervousness. I think nobody really knows what this conference will be. Is it better than the Mountain West? I don't know. The Mountain West is not done, I'm sure. They were pretty aggressive this week. So, who knows? Like, we're playing a football game, which I think these are the two best teams in the Mountain West Conference playing tomorrow at Allegiant Stadium. And that's, it doesn't even make the storyboard, right? It's so far down because of everything else going on. Like, the game is almost, not even secondary. It's down 6 spots from what we're really talking about. So we'll see. Yeah, but yeah, a lot of excitement to begin with, and now I think there's just a lot of unrest because nobody really knows what this thing's really going to look like.
Well, I think the games in recent times have been much about a couple of topics, angles on offense, and they've been close games. Fresno keeps winning them though, 7, 8, 7 in the last 3 years. But to me, it's been about Fresno throwing all over the yard on UNLV, and especially when they really need it, they get it done. And then I know you talked about it. UNLV has been really physical in the run game the last 3 years, especially against that Fresno defense.
Yeah, if Fresno State doesn't stop the run tomorrow, they're not going to win the football game. Like, it's just that simple. And it's what Barry Odom has instilled here. It's the identity that they possess. They are a physical bunch. They're big up front. They have some backs that can tote it. Quarterback, even though it's not the guy that we've seen on film, the quarterback that will play tomorrow can tote it as well. So it's a big time physical challenge for this Fresno State defense. And last year they didn't really respond to that challenge. If UNLV doesn't drop the pass, they win that game in Fresno. And Barry Odom has a big time win in year one. They ended up going to the Mountain West Championship and losing at home, but that was a game that UNLV outplayed Fresno State outside of, some big plays that Fresno State had in the passing game. So if they don't answer the bell tomorrow physically, Fresno State defensively, UNLV will run them right out of Allegiant Stadium.
Cam, both these teams are coming in with pretty impressive resumes. UNLV just happened to be on the right side against Kansas and Houston. But, I mean, Fresno went to Michigan, and they were in that game till the fourth quarter. How much do you think that loss has helped them? Because now they've had 3 pretty impressive and easy wins since then.
Yeah, and a big drop-off in competition, obviously. But, they had a chance. They were first and 10, down a couple of scores against Michigan. First and goal, actually, inside the 10. If they just convert points there, it's a totally different game. You have 4 minutes to see if you can finish that one off. Instead, a pick six goes the other way. 30-10 doesn't look as competitive as that game really was. I mean, Michigan had one drive that they sustained and got in the end zone. So, they gained a lot of confidence from that. I feel like they feel they can physically hang with anybody in the Mountain West Conference because they were able to hang with Michigan. Kind of wore them down one drive in the fourth quarter, but otherwise they were punch for punch with those guys. And it's not the same Michigan team that they were last year, but they're still a big physical Big Ten program that has recruited very well over the last 5 or 6 years. So yeah, they've taken a lot from that game, and I think they really feel that this game is pretty similar to that. It's going to be a big test for this defensive front seven physically to step up to. And now there's some explosive. UNLV's offense is far more explosive than Michigan's offense is. There's no question about that. There's some real challenges on the perimeter, too, if you single guys up because you need more guys around the line of scrimmage. So it's going to be a little bit of a chess match. But I think the way they played and the way that they sustained playing physically on defense. I think they're pretty confident tomorrow going in that, they can answer the physical challenge against UNLV.
Former NFL player with the Bears, the Dolphins, and Jets, safety at Fresno State, now part of the broadcast team. Cam Warrello was nice enough to join Cofield and Company on the eve of these UNLV Fresno games for as long as they last, right? So I want to go back. I'm going to go back there in a second. First, give me your overall grade. Is Mikey Keene playing as well as he can through 4 games?
I think he has been a little bit slow to get started this season, and like any quarterback, if he faces pressure and he's not comfortable in the pocket, he just tends to speed up just a little bit. He's just a little bit off target. He makes poor decisions with the football, and that's what we saw, against Michigan, a little bit against Sac State. He just didn't seem to really get comfortable, and I think against New Mexico State, against New Mexico, who again, we're talking about a lower level of competition. The offensive line has started to play a little bit better. They've kept him clean, and he is not looking to escape when he gets a little bit of pressure. He's looking to step up. He's looking to find a place inside the pocket to continue to allow routes to develop and then deliver an accurate football. So, he started a little bit slower than I think everybody expected. He's returning. He has guys coming back. Malik Sherrod was supposed to be kind of the bell cow, but, was a little bit banged up to begin the season, which I think affected, Mikey a little bit as well. So, no, he hasn't played as well as he's capable of playing. But I think over the last couple of weeks, they really have kept him clean. And you start to see, the guy that we saw last year really dissecting defenses, really able to break down what he sees and deliver accurate balls. And, it's going to be a great test tomorrow to see. I think Fresno State has a pretty good group of receivers, and this UNLV secondary, it's the biggest test that they've faced since that Michigan game. And they had some, they had some wins against those Michigan corners who are pretty good. I'm really excited to see that matchup in the back seven when UNLV's on defense tomorrow afternoon.
Let's go back to the power game, and that is the O-line for UNLV against that defensive line for Fresno. I want you to talk about the personnel and also an update on Corey Foreman, who's in from USC. You're talking about a top 25 player in the class that year. What's he doing so far? And then how about the D-line in terms of stoutness against the run?
Yeah, Corey Foreman, you have some of those, and you guys know Ricky White, right? You have some of those Power 5 transfer guys that come in and they just look different. They just move differently. And Corey Foreman's that guy. I think right now he's a little bit better suited to be a pass rush guy in passing situations. Still a little bit light to hold the edge, but Fresno State is probably the deepest front seven that I've seen, since Judge Tedford returned in 2017. So they're a little bit younger in the interior of that defensive line. Gabriel Lightfoot, still a young player, but very productive. Debo Bridges, preseason first team All Mountain West guy. He'll flash inside a little bit in passing situations, but he's that defensive end to hold up the end. Jason Jack, another, kind of long body defensive end. So they've done a nice job against the run. They wore down a bit against Michigan, just because they have a couple of big backs and they're really big up front. But for the most part, Jethro Franklin, who played in the NFL, one of the best defensive linemen to ever put on a Fresno State uniform, he really coaches these guys up really well. And I'm so excited for this game. It's unfortunate that the story around this game has become what it's become with Luca and the Pac-12 and the Mountain West and all that, because these are two really good football teams who play a physical brand of football. And I tell you what, if you do not answer the bell tomorrow, you will get knocked out quickly. So, yeah, this defensive line, they're going to be ready to go for one of the biggest tests that they've had this season.
It's a very weird spot for Fresno because they may be facing a lesser quarterback in Hodge Malik Williams. I'm not sure that's even the truth. But what they are facing is a team that is really pissed off and ready to rally after what they believe, was kind of a situation where they were done dirty and the guy was disloyal.
Yeah, for sure. We talking to Pat Hill on the plane out here. This is the type of thing that happens to a team that just galvanizes you. I've been in obviously not this situation that I think is unique in the history of college football, But I've been in the locker room where you lose a guy or a guy walks out or something happens. Your organization trades a guy that you were expecting to be a big piece of your roster, and it just kind of fortifies you. So there's no doubt that UNLV is going to use all that energy tomorrow afternoon. Everything that's gone on, all the interviews they've had to do, all the questions they've had to answer, all the Pac-12 stuff, all of this noise that has gone on, and the fact that the leader of their team walked out on them, that man, they're going to be fired up. I'm really curious to see what they look like in 2 weeks, right? Like if this has a rebound effect and it takes them, it might take a little bit for that to take effect, but tomorrow, man, we talk about hair on fire guys. I feel like the entire Rebels team is going to be a hair on fire guy flying around the football field tomorrow, just because you have so much of that anger pent up, and this is the one place on planet Earth that you can go and let all of that go, and people actually get excited when you do that.
Cam, you're great. We'll see you out at the game tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Oh, anytime, guys. Enjoy.
There he is. Cam Worrell, true Fresno State guy. We talking way too much about all the drama off the field. That gets you fired up. That gets you real fired up. And he's into the game. Fresno has a healthy respect. They've won 6 in a row in the series, but a lot of these games have been really close. We'll come back, go into the grab bag, get some score updates and college football as Alex White. Give us a couple of picks down the stretch here. Come on, Alex.
Hi, this is Peyton Manning. I know a thing or two about audibles, specifically when it comes to making a change during the game. You can call your own audibles with early cash out on the Caesar Sportsbook Nevada app. With early cash out, now you have the option to audible your previously placed wagers with just a click.
Audible? Is this just an excuse for you to say Omaha in an ad?
Exactly, Eli. Omaha.
Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I'm attorney Paul Powell. When you need an injury lawyer, who are you really hiring? I'm not an actor or a business guy masquerading as a lawyer on some billboard. If you hire me, you get me.
More lawyer, less fee.
Some restrictions apply.
Patty Davidson here from BetMoneyHoney.com. Would you like to become an educated sports fan that also knows how to place a bet? How about a library of how games are played, how to make bets, and hot picks of the day? Join me at BetMoneyHoney.com.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks, "How's your French going?" you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue.